Look around you right now. Just for a second, stop and look at the objects in your room, the sky outside your window, or even the screen you are holding. You see a world overflowing with millions of different shades: cerulean, emerald, crimson, sunset orange, charcoal gray. We take this rainbow for granted. We assume that because the colors are there, humans have always seen them the same way we do. But what if I told you that your ancestors were colorblind to the world you see? What if I told you that for most of human history, the sky wasn't blue and the grass wasn't exactly green? Not because the world was different, but because their minds didn't have the words to capture the light. This is a journey into the deepest parts of your own brain. It is a story about how language literally builds the reality you live in. And by the end of this, you might realize that the way you see your life today is being limited by the very words you use to describe it. Let's go back to the very beginning, to the dawn of the human story. If we look at almost every ancient language on Earth, from the icy plains of the north to the deepest jungles, a strange pattern emerges. When humans first started naming the world, they didn't start with a rainbow. They started with a binary. They started with the two things that determined whether they would live to see tomorrow. The first two colors ever named were simply light and dark, or, as we call them today, white and black. But back then, these weren't just colors. They were states of existence. Light was safety. It was the sun. It was the time when you could see the predator before it saw you. Dark was the unknown. It was the cold. It was the closing of the eyes. In the beginning, if something was bright or shining, it was white. If it was dull, shadow-filled, or dirty, it was black. Everything in the universe was sorted into these two buckets. There was no room for subtlety. But then, something shifted. Humans started to pay closer attention to the drama of life, and the third color to enter the human mind was the most violent and beautiful one of all: red. Red is the first real color our ancestors named. And it makes perfect sense why. Red is the color of the blood in your veins. It is the color of the fire that kept the darkness at bay. It is the color of the ripe berry that meant you wouldn't go hungry, and the color of the wound that meant the hunt was over. Red is biological. It is an alarm clock in the brain. Even today, when you see red, your heart rate actually speeds up just a tiny bit. Your ancestors named red because they couldn't afford to ignore it. It was the color of life and death. For thousands of years, this was the human palette: black, white, and red. If you look at ancient cave paintings, these are the colors you see. They are primal. They are the foundation of our visual identity. But as our societies grew, as we stopped just surviving and started thriving, we began to notice the subtle textures of the earth. The next two colors to arrive were green and yellow. Now, here is something fascinating. In many ancient languages, green and yellow were actually the same word. They were the colors of growth. Think about a leaf. It starts a bright, vibrant green, and as it matures or wilts, it turns yellow. To an ancient mind, these weren't two different colors. They were just different stages of the same living thing. Eventually, we split them. Yellow became the color of the sun and the dried grass. Green became the color of the lush forest and the spring rain. With these five colors, black, white, red, green, and yellow, humans finally felt like they had a handle on the world. They could describe the earth, the fire, the blood, and the sun. But there was something missing, something massive, something that covers more than 70% of our planet: blue. In almost every ancient text, from the sagas of the North to the epic poems of the Mediterranean, the word for blue simply does not exist. Take the Odyssey, for example. When the author describes the sea, he doesn't call it blue. He calls it the wine-dark sea. Why? Because to him, the sea had the same deep, dark, swirling quality as a bowl of red wine. He wasn't colorblind. He could see the water, but he didn't have a category for blue in his brain. Think about that for a second. The sky is right there. It is the biggest thing we see every day. But for our ancestors, the sky was just nothing. It was a void. Or it was a shade of white or a shade of black. Because blue is so rare in nature, besides the sky and the sea which you can't touch or hold, humans didn't feel the need to name it until much, much later in our history. There is a famous study where researchers went to a tribe that still uses a very ancient language. This tribe has many words for different types of green, but no word for blue. When shown a circle of green squares with one clearly blue square, they couldn't pick it out. To them, the blue square was just another shade of green. They literally couldn't see the difference that is so obvious to you and me. This tells us something profound about the modern world. We think we see the truth. We think we see reality exactly as it is. But in reality, we only see what we have the words to describe. And this is where it gets personal for you. In our modern digital lives, we are surrounded by millions of colors, but our internal vocabulary is actually shrinking. We spend so much time looking at artificial light, at the blues and grays of screens, that we are losing our connection to the natural palette our brains were built for. We talk about feeling blue when we are sad or seeing red when we are angry. We use these colors to describe our emotions because, deep down, our brains still remember that colors are not just light, they are signals. So, here's my suggestion for you. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like the modern world is a blur of gray pixels and white noise, you need to recalibrate your internal palette. Your ancestors didn't just see green, they saw 1,000 different messages about life and safety in the forest. Your brain still has that capacity. Try this today. It sounds simple, but it is a powerful neurological reset. Go outside and find one thing that is a color you don't have a common name for. Don't just say, "It's green." Is it the color of a mossy stone under a waterfall? Is it the color of a bruised plum? When you start to name the world with more detail, your brain actually begins to perceive more detail. You become more present. You become more observant. You start to see the wine-dark depths in your own life that you were previously ignoring. If you find it hard to connect with nature right now, if you are stuck in an office or a city, do the same thing with the people around you. Don't just see a crowd of gray strangers. Look for the red of someone's scarf, the yellow of a distant light, the white of a passing cloud. The goal is to move beyond the binary of on or off, good or bad, black or white. The modern world wants to put you back into those first two buckets. It wants you to see things as purely light or purely dark. It wants to simplify your reality until it's just a series of clicks and likes. But you are a descendant of people who fought for every single color. You are the product of millions of years of expanding vision. Don't let your world shrink. By reclaiming the complexity of color, you are reclaiming the complexity of your own thoughts. You are telling your brain that the world is not just a background to be ignored, it is a masterpiece to be studied. So, the next time you look at the sky, remember that for thousands of years that blue was invisible. It was a secret waiting to be discovered. What else are you looking at right now that you don't have the words for yet? What other colors of joy or peace or connection are standing right in front of you, waiting for you to give them a name? Go find them. Look closer. The world is much more vibrant than you think. You just have to decide to see it.